Hello and welcome to the program today. Thank you so much for joining us at this time. I'm Layo Olarinde. Let's begin in Mali, where the International Criminal Court has convicted an Al-Qaeda-linked extremist leader of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Al-Hassan Mahmoud is accused particularly of abusing prisoners as the de facto chief of the Islamic police in the capital, Timbuktu. Judges read out the verdict on the many other charges for his alleged role in insurgents' reign of terror, including rape, torture, persecution, enforced marriages, and sexual slavery. He faces up to life imprisonment when a sentence is handed down at a later date.
Based on the analysis of the evidence adduced and considered at trial, as set out in the judgment of the Chamber, the Chamber finds Mr. Al-Hassan guilty of crimes against humanity and war crimes. As detailed out in the judgment of the Chamber, Mr. Al-Hassan is guilty as follows. On the basis of Articles 25(3)(a), C, and 25(3)(d) of the statute, of 1. Crimes against humanity and war crimes of torture, and 2. War crimes, outrages upon personal dignity. On the basis of Article 25(3)(d) of the statute.
Meanwhile, civil society associations and leaders of Malian society in Bamako who watched Al-Hassan Mahmoud's trial live from the International Criminal Court are heaving a sigh of relief. The leader of a women's organization in Mali, Haidara Janeba, feels it is progress even if no sentence has been pronounced against him yet. In 2012, during the occupation of the city of Timbuktu in Mali by armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda, Al-Hassan was in charge of the Islamic police, and under his orders, many people were subjected to torture, including the cutting off of suspected thieves' hands, forced marriages, and public flogging. ICC spokesperson Margot Tedesco says the ICC will seek input from legal representatives of victims, the prosecutor's office, and the defense to determine the accused sentence. We move to Sudan now, where UN human rights experts are accusing the country's warring parties of using starvation as a war weapon. This is in spite of several and increasing warnings about imminent famine in the war-torn nation. Humanitarian aid has been blocked and harvest season disrupted because of the war. According to the UN, more than 25 million civilians in Sudan and those who fled the country are being starved and need urgent humanitarian assistance. There are also widespread reports of sexual violence and other atrocities that rights groups term war crimes and crimes against humanity. The conflict created the world's largest displacement crisis, with over 11 million people forced to flee their homes. The traditional Sudanese army and its rival, the Rapid Support Forces, have been at war for 14 months, during which 14,000 people have been killed and over 30,000 others wounded. These are United Nations figures, but rights activists say the toll could be much higher. Well, still in Sudan, the protracted war has severely affected the country's health sector, leaving many hospitals and medical facilities closed, damaged or burnt. Many hospital buildings in one of its largest cities, Omdurman, are deserted. Now, doctors are warning that the few operating facilities which are still open may have to close for lack of resources and due to patient overcrowding. They also complain that the conditions cause treatment protocols to be compromised. The World Health Organization estimates that 15 million people are without health care, and between 70 to 80% of health facilities are not functioning in the country. Well, UNICEF's Executive Director, Catherine Russell, has been to the country to evaluate the impact of the war on children. She toured the Abdullah Naj internally displaced people's home gathering point, engaging with children and adolescents displaced by war. She met with young children and teenagers who related their experiences to her. Well, the UN Children's Agency has provided e-learning services, clubs, and a child-friendly space where the children can learn through play, among other facilities. Well, let's speak further on all that's happening in Sudan. Joining us now is freelance journalist working for the VOA and covering Sudan affairs, Michael Atit. Michael is currently based in Kampala, Uganda. Hello, Michael. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you, Layo, for hosting me. It's a pleasure having been hosted by you.
Well, Michael, you know, this war in Sudan has been a long, drawn-out war. What do you think the United Nations means by saying the warring parties are weaponizing starvation? How is the starvation to improve the circumstances of any of the factions?
Yeah, it is an unfortunate situation where both warring parties have reached to this extent, and I would say it is overdue by the UN or whoever international community at this time to announce this. It doesn't mean only to announce, but it needs an immediate action on the warring parties in Sudan. I mean, it has been more than a year down line now. The Sudanese civilians and, you know, vulnerable communities are suffering under both control of the areas. If you look at areas where the rapid support forces are controlling, in a majority in the central, in the capital, or in the western region of Darfur, with exception of Al-Fashir or northern Darfur, you find pregnant women, elderly, and children are severely being affected because they are not allowing the aid organizations to access those communities. And as a result of the ongoing fighting, they are unable to engage in farming, in agriculture, because they also fear their life. So if you also look at the situation in the army control area, it's the same thing happening. So this kind of situation, neither of the side is going to win this war, but the loser at the end of the day is an ordinary Sudanese citizen. It's women and children where they don't have access to basic life, you know, something that can make them survive, that is including health. And for children, for almost a year now, there is no education. They are just stranded, you know, there is nothing happening. So using starvation as a weapon for both sides, I would say it's not going to help any of the side, but it is going to affect the ordinary Sudanese citizens.
And, you know, the war is also affecting the health institutions across the country. They're so severely affected that the authorities are saying that the hospitals have to close for those that have not even closed. How do people get their medical attention or even attend to their health needs in this situation?
Many of the Sudanese in those control areas, they depend on aid organizations. We talk of MSF, we talk of Save the Children, we talk of UNICEF, but due to the intensified fighting in all these areas, these organizations are unable to even to operate in a safe environment. Some health facilities have been subjected to shelling. Some have been attacked. Even some medical personnel have been killed and some have been wounded, leave alone the patients who seek health facility or seek health treatment in those health facilities. So it is what we could, I can describe as a serious crime against communities in Sudan, because you cannot keep on fighting. You cannot also attack patients who are lying on the sick bed in hospitals, and you deny them access to health facilities. That is a serious crime where both the military and the RSF are also using it as a weapon, to just silence the community from this access to this environment.
And we know that, the evaluation of humanitarian aid was done a while back, but how are the Sudanese people getting food now? And there had been claims that, the warring factions, especially the RSF, alleged allegations against them that they have been blocking humanitarian aid that, you mentioned is critical to the people.
You can see already the effect of, access to humanitarian access or access to food. People are leaving their area, even though it is a risky mission for many families who are trying to vacate their area and trying to flee, for example, or who are trying to flee to the neighboring countries. If you talk of the neighboring South Sudan, the neighboring Central Africa or Chad or Ethiopia, many Sudanese are now fleeing to those areas in an attempt to just survive, because there is nothing. There is no food in their area, and both military and the RSF are denying organization to bring them food. So there is no any option just for them just to risk this journey and try to access any other service in the neighboring countries. Even though in some of these neighboring countries, they have their own sufferings and they have their own, shortage of service delivery. But then despite this, they are fleeing. People are starving. People trying to escape the hard situation that they are living in. In recent days, in Kampala, many Sudanese have been coming through South Sudan, through Ethiopia. They are just trying to find a way where they can at least have a peaceful environment and access services in that regard.
All right, Michael, just before I let you go, I know you used to be in Sudan, but you have moved to Kampala. What was the situation that led to your relocation?
Okay, my situation is not different from any situation that an ordinary Sudanese face in Khartoum. I was based in Khartoum, and I spent the first 1 month or so in Khartoum itself. Before the fighting intensified in my area, I have to flee. I went through Port Sudan, and from Sudan I have to come to South Sudan, to Juba, and finally I'm here in Kampala. It's a tough story to say, but you cannot operate or report in an environment where there is no presence of authority that can give you protection. You might fall victim of reporting a news in an environment where either of the party can easily accuse you of supporting the other side, or anything can be labeled against you. And as in the journalism we say, there is no news worth life. So I have to flee, and thank God I'm here now, trying to settle, try to settle place, to stay. We look forward that this war, the Sudanese warring parties come to their senses and try to end this fighting, because, as I said, none of them is going to win this war if they continue fighting, because at the end of the day, it is a destruction, it is loss of life of their same citizens whom they are claiming to be leaders to rule them in that country.
Indeed, Michael. Thank you so much. Freelance journalist for the VOA in Kampala, Uganda, Michael Atit. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We continue in Kenya. Riot police have been deployed and roads blocked around key buildings in the capital, Nairobi, ahead of further protests. Well, streets have been empty in the central business district where there is heavy security presence. Well, on Tuesday, 22 people died in tax hike protests, which turned deadly when part of the parliament building was set ablaze and police fired live ammunition, after which President William Ruto bowed to pressure and threw out a controversial finance bill. Demonstrators explained that their planned gathering at the city center is now to mourn those that they lost in the mayhem. It has also been calm in Mombasa. That's the second biggest city in the country, with some people going about their business. However, there were clashes in Migori in western Kenya, where police threw tear gas at demonstrators. Well, crowds of protesters also gathered in Kisumu. And over here in Nigeria, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says the current cholera crisis would have spiraled out of control if the Lagos State government had not been proactive in controlling the spread of the waterborne epidemic. He made this comment at the 2024 Lagos International Water Conference, emphasizing the crucial role of water resources in maintaining a safe environment.
Environmental experts, Lagos State senior government officials, foreign partners and other stakeholders converge on Eco Hotel and Suites for the 5th Lagos International Conference to deliberate on how to finance water and sanitation for a greater Lagos. The Minister for Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Fitsev, who is concerned about access to clean water, makes his way to the venue. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy Kadri Hamzat also joined the gathering to analyze the importance of a clean environment, particularly concerning the cholera outbreak. The Executive Secretary of Lagos State Water Regulatory Commission sets the tone for the conference, while the State Commissioner for Environment gives reasons why water supply must be financed.
Our theme for this year's conference, Financing Water and Sanitation for a Greater Lagos, underscores the critical importance of securing adequate financial resources to support and enhance water and sanitation infrastructure in our rapidly growing city.
After over a decade, Lagos was able to sign and approve a WASH policy. This sets the tone and put us on a global pedestal, telling the world we are ready to address the issue of water, the issue of hygiene and sanitation.
Water pollution is a major issue the Consulate General of Denmark and Kingdom of Netherlands want the government to tackle urgently.
So the generation of all sorts of solid waste and improper disposal and management of these wastes has caused water pollution, which has further compounded the scarcity of potable water.
We need to clean the gutters because the gutters have been swamped with plastics, with debris, with people building housings on them. And it requires a systematic approach with systematic enforcement to make sure that it doesn't happen every year.
Professor Sev says it's important to leverage the private sector investment to enhance public water supply.
Many residents rely on informal water resources, leading to waterborne disease and health risk. Sanitation facilities are often inadequate, contributing to environmental pollution and public health hazards. Addressing these challenges requires concerted efforts and innovative financing mechanisms.
Governor Sanwo-Olu linked the spread of cholera to lack of sanitation at the community level and the intake of contaminated water, which will be addressed once the Adiyan Scheme 2 water project is completed.
We all talk about cholera and the outbreak that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. We've seen it because of the proactive nature of this government, with all sense of humility. It was the level of how well we're able to take a proactive step and transparently have a surveillance engagement where we can raise our voices and raise them early, that we've been able to stem the tide, we've been able to reduce an outbreak that will not only be local, but will have been very catastrophic. When we come back here next year for this yet another conference, Adio 2, which will require tens of billions of naira, we should have been completing it. That is the commitment I want to leave here today.
Meaningful outcomes from this 5th annual water conference will go a long way towards implementing solutions that will tackle water and sanitation problems in Lagos State.
The Chinese ambassador in South Africa, Wu Peng, is emphasizing the importance of building sustainable and mutually beneficial relationships. Peng highlights the potential for South African companies to leverage China's vast market and for Chinese companies to invest in South Africa's diverse economic landscape. Well, he made these remarks at the Beijing South Africa Business Cooperation Promotion Conference in Johannesburg, co-hosted by the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade, the Beijing Chamber of International Commerce, and the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade Representative Office in South Africa. Well, our correspondent Innocent Samosa was at the conference and now reports.
The discussions are centered around growing economic partnership between China and South Africa. The ambassador of the Republic of the People of China in South Africa, Wu Peng, says the conference aimed to enhance bilateral trade and investment opportunities.
China and South Africa are called to the same goal on development and security, international order, and the global governance. We understand and support each other as always.
Meanwhile, Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, says this should not only be a talk shop.
We come here with one message and one message only. Let's make this relationship a reality. We come here with one message and one message only. Time of talk, it's over. It's time of action, so that we can deal with it.
The event featured a series of activities designed to promote cooperation, including an investment promotion session, a signing ceremony, and business talk between Beijing and South African companies. Attendees told Channels Television that the program provided a platform for businesses from both countries to explore new opportunities, forge partnerships, and discuss potential collaborations.
These types of events bolster what provincial governments are trying to do, which is to connect people. So for me, such events are very, very crucial in unlocking opportunities, in unlocking networks, in unlocking experience.
Well, I think especially like in other sectors, like especially in construction and the medical field, I think it's very important. Like we see in the rest of Africa, like I travel to other countries in Africa, you see a lot of good that the Chinese businesses and the government is doing.
We're hoping to link up with potential importers, especially on this conference. We have investors coming in. They're looking for a logistics partner that has presence here and in China and want to represent them and partner with the local businesses that are established already.
Attendees say the Beijing South Africa Business Cooperation Promotion Conference has set the stage for a new chapter in the economic relationship between the two nations. Now, the collaborative efforts seen today are expected to lead to increased trade, investment, and shared prosperity in the coming years. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
And that's where we end Network Africa for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.